Hey, so I'm supposed to be at an open mic right now, and I spent like an hour getting ready and doing my hair and doing my makeup. And then I got there, and the girl was like, "Oh, it's not happening tonight," which is maybe something that you should post on the Facebook page that was created for the sole purpose of communicating information about that open mic. It's especially pertinent information for those people who live 20 minutes away. Just saying. So, anyway, today I'm going to make a video instead. Instead of playing my guitar, I will make a video because I already, look acceptable to the public eye, so why not? And I'm going to talk to you today about blood. Specifically, blood in the mouth cavity, because I had an experience the other day. And I'm going to tell you about it. But first, it made me think of another mouth blood experience. And this experience was back in 2012. That makes me feel old. So 2012, I got my tonsils out, and that is an experience that is, like, as a whole, documented pretty thoroughly on my blog. So you can go read that if you want. It's super fun. But there's a thing that happens when you get your tonsils out occasionally. Like, sometimes when the scabs fall off of your tonsils, you bleed. That's just like a thing that happens. But my doctor was like, usually, like, if you stay really hydrated, like, instead of being like hard scabs, they'll be soft and they'll sort of like disintegrate. And I was like, great, I drink like loads of water anyways. This is going to be easy peasy for me. So I'm drinking like 17 liters of water a day. Probably not that many. I would probably have drowned. But I was drinking like a lot of water. I mean, I normally drink like 6 32-ounce water bottles a day, and I was drinking that plus some, like way more than that. And my cat is just gonna, yep, there he is. Hey, buddy. I'm not editing this, so just enjoy that. Yeah, so anyway, I drank a lot of water, and I was like, I'm totally good, like nothing's gonna happen to me. And so here is the sequence of events of the fateful day of the mouth blood. So it was like 2 weeks into my healing process, and I was to the point where I could eat macaroni and cheese, which was a great day for me because that is my favorite food. So I was having a great time. And my mom made me macaroni and cheese. My dad was in the hospital because he'd flipped into AFib while he was shopping with my brother. So my brother had driven my dad to the hospital. They're both at the hospital. And my mom's like, "Hey, Kelly, so you're doing better. Here's a mac and cheese. I'm going to go visit your dad and make sure he's okay." Burke, what are you doing? What are you doing? He's just going to hide back there and like leap onto my head at a random point during this video. I'll just wait for it because never mind, no head leaping, only lap leaping. So, mom goes to visit dad at the hospital. I'm gonna say like 15 minutes after my mom left, I'm like sitting there eating my mac and cheese and like watching whatever the hell I was watching on TV, probably HGTV, let's be real. And I take a bite of my mac and cheese and I'm like, that tastes like weird and metallic. And I was like, is that the fork? Or like what? And I was kind of like, no, I think that I'm bleeding. And then, like, very suddenly, it got real bad. And I, like, ran to our bathroom, which is also a laundry room. It's a laundry room bathroom combo. And I, like, spit literally like a quarter cup of blood into the toilet. This is gross, by the way. I probably should have warned you. Whatever. So I called my mom. Obviously, I'm like freaking out. And I called her, and her phone, she wasn't answering. Her phone was on vibrate, which is something that she does quite often. And I'm freaking out because the hospital is like 30 minutes, like at least a 30-minute drive from our house. It was downtown. And she's not picking up her phone, and I called my dad, who's in a hospital bed, like he's just gotten cardioverted. And I'm like, "Hey, I understand that you're probably like under the influence of drugs or whatever, but I'm spitting up a lot of blood, so I don't really know what to do with myself." And he's like, "Well, call mom." And I was like, "Yeah, great idea. Tried that." And so he was at the same hospital that the doctor I got my surgery at also works at a couple days a week. So he calls him and he's like, hey, Chris, like, this is what's happening to my daughter. What do I do? And then he's calling me back and talking to him. And he's like, okay, you need to go get ice water and gargle with ice water. And I was like, okay, I'll gargle with ice water. So I like pick myself up off the toilet and I go get some ice water. My mom finally arrives at the freaking hospital and my dad's like, hey, you gotta go back home because your daughter is like hemorrhaging from the throat. And my mom was like, great. And she calls me and she's like, I'm on my way home. And I was like, I hate you. Why did you answer your phone? This is the worst day of my life. And she's like, I'm coming. So I was gargling with my ice water, like whatever, and she walks into the house, and I'm like this on the toilet, and there's blood everywhere. Like because the initial like spitting had a lot, and it just was sort of like on the toilet seat, and like there was some on the wall, like some on the washer, and it was like on the floor. It was like not a good scene to walk into, but she came in and she sat there with me and she apologized, and I mean, it's all good. It's like a fun story now, so whatever. Yeah, so that was my first experience with mouth blood. It did eventually stop, didn't have to go back to the hospital. I was good. And I ate macaroni and cheese the next day again because fuck the police. Anyway, so a couple days ago, I purchased a baby bottle pop from Schnucks. And I called my brother and I was like, oh my god, it's our whole childhood. We used to love these. Like, meh, 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 meh. And I got the blue raspberry flavor, obviously, like you do. And I'm like consuming this baby bottle pop. Like I am doing it the correct way. Like you lick the pop part and then you stick it in the sugary thing and then you eat it, whatever. And like I licked it and I like pulled it back to dip it in again. And it's like kind of like brown and red and whatever. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And I was kind of like, my tongue hurts a little bit. And I was like, am I bleeding from this baby bottle pop? The answer is yes. I was bleeding from that baby bottle pop. And I went to my bathroom and I was like, and there was like there were like two giant patches of just, I don't know, I guess my taste buds got rubbed raw from the sour powder or something. I don't know. It was bleeding like pretty heavily. Like it was coming, it just kept like surfacing and like bubbling, and I would like spit it out or try and like blot it with a tissue, but then the tissue would get stuck and it was just it was a mess. Then I texted my brother and I was like, I'm actually bleeding from this baby bottle pop. Like, what's wrong with me? And he was like, put a bandage on it, which is a reference to Busy Town. And if anyone understands that reference, then I want to marry you. But anyway, I did not put a bandage on it, obviously, because it was my tongue. But it just made me really sad. And it made me like, I don't know, like, am I getting that old where I can't eat candy anymore? Where it like hurts my body? That makes me sad. I did eat the rest of it. I mean, let's be real. I waited like a day, but I ate the rest of it. And I went out to eat after that to a Greek restaurant. And I was like, this could be painful because my tongue is like raw and bleeding. The thing that hurt the most was alcohol. That was number one. The number two thing that hurt the most was cheese, hot cheese with lemon juice. It was Saganaki. Google it. So those are things you shouldn't eat if your tongue hurts, because it'll make it hurt worse. So yay for mouths bleeding. Those are my fun stories for today, and hope your Sunday's going well. Hope your mouth doesn't bleed, and if it does, don't eat cheese.